Barbara Brandon Croft is as outspoken as she is soft-spoken. Never let her calm and kind voice fool you. She stands for something. And I should know, because I've spoken with her myself. Inspired by the likes of Jackie Orms, Barbara's art and comics send a message. There's a reason that she was able to become the first nationally syndicated Black woman cartoonist in 1991. Luther, which ran from 1969 to 1986, was about an African American elementary school child and was one of the earliest mainstream comic strips to feature an African American in the lead role. The comic was created by Brumsick Brandon Jr., a Black cartoonist and also the father of Barbara Brandon Croft. Barbara was always destined for art. From drawing at the dinner table to making history, she was born to make a change. Thanks to her father, who worked on comics at home, Barbara and her brother would often sit around the dining room table while he worked. Whenever he would need help, he would give his children a drawing test. When Barbara passed with flying colors, by the way, she became her father's #1 assistant, helping him with his comic work. She was often in charge of the shading on the drawings. She even remarked that her journey must have been a natural progression from there. Despite growing up in a predominantly Black neighborhood and studying art at Syracuse University, school made her feel small. Everyone was so talented. Everyone. So she ultimately decided not to graduate and move back home. Despite being known for her syndicated comic strip, Barbara spent a lot of her early career working in fashion, including Essence magazine and Elle magazine. She actually liked fashion and writing, and it was the first job she looked for after college. She felt like the cartoonist path was her father, not her. She wanted something different, or at least that's what she thought. She wrote for the fashion and beauty section of the magazine. Unfortunately, fashion was just not hitting for Barbara. Not only was she unfulfilled, the money wasn't quite worth it. So she moved from Essence to a small Black-owned fashion magazine called Elon, becoming a fashion cartoonist, kind of. And there's a reason I say kind of. This is where her initial ideas for a comic strip featuring several Black women was born. A cast of Black women who speak their mind. But before she could submit the rest of her ideas or even her first draft, the magazine shut down. Then in 1989, Marty Klaus, former Free Press managing editor, actually reached out to Barbara's father about an opening within the newspaper, looking for some recommendations of Black cartoonists. When he got the offer, he turned to Barbara and asked, "Are you going to be a cartoonist, or are you just going to talk about being a cartoonist?" She sent in her first edition of Where I'm Coming From. The comic strip wasn't just about showcasing people of color. It was about giving a voice to women with opinions, humor, personality, and it was featured in the Free Press's lifestyle section every Sunday under the title The Way We Live. She recognized the need for syndication, and so she compiled a press kit to send to various syndicates. Unfortunately, she received rejections from all but one, and that one was Universal Press Syndicate. But you know what they say, one is all you need. And she finally became syndicated in 1991. After 2 years, she had made history as the first nationally syndicated Black woman cartoonist. Her incisive letter about the lack of diversity in comics caught the attention of Universal Press Syndicate, leading to her work being picked up by them. Where I'm Coming From is a comic that talks about relationships, sexism, and racism from the point of view of 9 Black women: Cheryl, Nicole, Jackie, Lydia, Judy, Alicia, Lakeisha, Monica, and Sonia.
There was Brenda, Letitia, Linda, Felicia, Dawn, LaShawn, Inez, and Alicia.
Each character is their own person. They have different mannerisms, relationships with their Blackness, opinions, etc. They're Cheryl, an outspoken person with strong opinions. Alicia believes in world harmony. Monica, despite being white in appearance, is very militant and discusses the concept of colorism. And that's only about half. There were initially even more women in the comic, but Barbara was told that there were too many and to cut the number down. I believe she initially had 12, but she cut that down to 9. Barbara Croft drew inspiration from her friends, but the characters in Where I'm Coming From also reflected her personal truths. The art style of the comic strip is particularly unique, especially for the time. It was Lee, Salem editorial director at Universal Press Syndicate, who encouraged Barbara to push the envelope a bit further, saying, "Don't just talk about relationships. You can discuss race and sexism." Since it was originally intended for a monthly magazine, each strip would feature a different woman speaking to the audience face to face. The plan was to create 12 strips in a year. Even when the characters conversed with each other, the front face interactions were kept so that the reader could see their expressions and feel like they were part of the conversation. On top of that, Barbara wanted the art that focused on women and not their bodies, and the over-sexualization that so many comics with women, especially Black women, did drawn by men at the time and still tend to do. Over the life of the cartoon, the strip layout subtly changed from unmarked panels to blocks, though not separate panels. She started playing with this kind of idea because she was struggling to get all of her words in. Barbara and Tara Nakashima Donahue collaborated on an exhibit that was being showcased at the Billy Ireland Cartoon Library and Museum called Between Still Racism in America. Barbara and Brumzik are recognized as the only father daughter cartooning duo in history. The exhibit at the Billy Ireland Cartoon Library and Museum honored and contextualized the significance of their work. While the exhibit primarily focused on Brunswick Brandon Jr.'s contributions, the artwork by Barbara from her collection, where I'm coming from, is throughout. The exhibit received an overwhelmingly positive response. Even years after its opening, people still find it relevant and impactful, even with the advent of a new generation. One particular touching moment that occurred with Barbara was when a woman shared that her daughter had expressed her admiration for the exhibit, saying, "This is really good." Some other works that Barbara has contributed to are Sister Girlfriend Breaks It Down When Mom's Not Around. This book was about advice on anything from dating and boyfriends to schooling and careers aimed at African American teenage girls. It's a humorous and unique breakdown of what young girls need to know about life. Another book she contributed to is How to Marry a Black Man, The Real Deal. Part manual, part journal, and part workbook, the book delivers the goods on how to master the dating game and find a husband. Barbara also created illustrations for The Crisis, which is a magazine published by the NAACP, as well as The Village Voice and the MCA Record. Where I'm Coming From appeared in over 65 newspapers across the US and Canada, Jamaica, South Africa, and Barbados, and are also in the collection in the Library of Congress. They also exist in a hardcover book that holds her entire works, which I own. In 2023, Where I'm Coming From was awarded a National Association of Black Journalists Award for Outstanding Book. And in 2025, she was nominated for an Eisner Award. And that is Barbara Brandon. If you have anything to add, please comment below and let me know your thoughts. Like this video so it can show up in the algorithm a little bit better. Watch my interview with Barbara, which is about 2 years ago now, as I interview Black women who work in comics every Friday at 5 p.m. Those videos go live. You can also follow Melanin Minds at Melanin Minds 24 on Instagram. And if you would like to find books that I have written, you can find those at www.midnightcomics.org and on all associated social media. Until next time, remember, as I always say, a small spark can become a huge blaze. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Regina got older. She's hoping to find a real job. She pursued higher education.